family. Volume in unity. Divine light shining individually. Collectively transforming community. Peace in our human family.
One love, one growth, as above, so below. Feel the pain in my soul, the red pill dissolved. Organized, no matter the cost. Politicians start wars, they don't fight, they send the poor. And nothing lasts forever as long as we stay together. Give hell to the masses, watch the unity rapture. This is for the kids and the culture. It's one love, one growth, one light, light warriors. Hey.
Hey.
How's everything? I see you out there. You got the storm over there? It's raining.
It is pouring, it is raining, it's doing all the things.
Power's okay?
Yeah. It's good. The weather doesn't feel bad, it feels nice though.
Oh, that's good. That's always best. Sorry, I'm having some collar issues.
It's all good.
Oh, man. All right. Thank you so much for doing this, by the way. Let's get right into it because I know that you got some stuff you got to do. This is awesome. We've been trying to do this since Pride, and it would be dope to have you on Pride, but maybe next year, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how was your Pride month?
It was good. I try to feel all the feelings during Pride, I get all of my feelings and then I get all in my feelings and then I dance a lot.
Word. Where did you celebrate at? Did you go to New York or did you stay in town? Or
Oh, I had so many plans. I was supposed to go to New York. I was supposed to do this, do that. But I ended up kind of staying in my area, and I ended up going to a couple of different things to support little events, and I also was just I'm tired.
Oh yeah, I totally feel that. I planned it a lot of things too. Honestly, I do every freaking month, every single year. Like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. We're gonna go see this, we're gonna go see that. End up not doing like at least two of the things.
Yeah, literally. I have 60 things on my plate, and then I end up getting to 5 of them.
And this was very special because of all that whole pandemic, and no one really had the chance to just be together and stuff like we always usually do for Pride and everything.
Yep.
So, I mean, I wanted to make an effort to go out there in New York because I knew it was going to probably be even more crazier. What is my cat doing? But hey, it's whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll both go next year. Get the whole crew. Everybody just pack the
We
bus or some
should.
shit.
We should. I think also because I'm gonna be in New York for the weekend of the 23rd. I think the 23rd or the 24th. So I'm gonna be there anyway. The community's not gonna disappear. Because
Oh no, it's not.
and I think I think I just try to always remind myself Pride is, although it's exemplified during this month, it's it's every day for a lot of us, all of us. So I try to live in that. I try to make every day feel like Pride.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's dope. So you got some new music you coming out with, right? Or it's already out? I didn't get a chance to listen yet, but I
Yeah.
will. I've been freaking doing a lot of grant research.
Grant writing is a beast of its own. But I've also got over the years I've learned from listening to the people that it could be tedious, but once you get it, you get it. So you got this. You got this.
I'm at that part. I'm at that I'm almost getting it part, but I just hope I don't sound stupid.
No, you got to trust yourself. But
What's the name of your music?
So I dropped a song today. It's called Running.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Running is actually off of my debut album that I'm working on, which is so cool. Yeah, it's really cool. This is one of the most proudest things I think I've put out. It's definitely it's a newer sound in a sense, but not new to me. But I think I think I've like hinted at this sound for a while, and like little things, like I have a song called Nostalgia that's like really really nostalgic. But like this one is like actually like full retro, like
Nice.
80s, like early 90s, which is like, it's, I was talking with a good friend of mine, and like we're like, what kind of things are you into, like the soft 80s? I'm like, no, like I have been inspired by like the neon colors and the
Yeah.
graphic line, like that has been like my inspiration for like since I could remember. So like it feels really cool to release like music like that feels like all me. So yeah, you get the lyrics, you get the sound, you get the all the stuff. So I'm excited.
Where do you have a date yet on when your album, or are you still working on that?
I have an idea. I think I was kind of like torn because I'm like, oh yeah, like, when you start putting stuff out, people expect a date. And I'm also like, you know, I'm gonna put it out. I'm gonna let it do its thing and breathe and like really
Yeah.
allow myself to create more moments for the songs in their
Mm.
individual moment. And like, you know, when it's time for like the whole body of work to like be like, here you go.
Yeah.
So I've been like really more patient than I've ever been in my life. Actually,
Yeah.
like it's actually been really hard. I'm like, no,
Oh
I gotta,
man.
gotta get it. I gotta get it all out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
my,
I totally understand that.
yeah, I'm like, without putting so much like pressure on like me and like the process of like creating. I'm like, I hope in like the new year it'll be like in a place where people can listen to it.
Oh yes, yes. And honestly, I encourage you to keep doing that and don't let the impatience get to you. Try to let it down because when it comes out organically, it always
Hmm.
comes out so perfectly. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And don't rush it.
Yeah.
Um, this is going to be your first album too, right? So this is like a
Yeah.
real big deal. You know what I mean? So don't even
Hmm.
just let the process go. You know, we had
Yeah.
all this shit, pandemic. We got a tropical storm passing us.
Oh God.
Life don't stop. So let's let it freaking happen organically. That's why I've been starting to tell people all the time now because everybody's like rushing, everybody's like excited, like
Yeah.
oh, outside's back. He's like, okay, well, relax.
Yeah. I was
You
laughing.
want to do this? You want to do
I seen this tweet, and it was like, we outside starting to get real expensive.
that?
And I'm like, yeah, it is.
It
So
is. Oh
I'm
my
about
god.
to, I'm about to sit inside for a little while longer.
I was watching this show. There's a travel show on Netflix now where it's like
Mm,
all people. Where I think one is Brazilian, another person is from the Philippines, and also
mm,
Latina. And then there's a guy from Puerto Rico who was like a real estate agent in New York,
mm.
and they're showing all these beautiful, extravagant places and the places are like 12 grand a night. I mean, they have a budget section and stuff like that.
Mm.
But I'm just like the budget sections. They're also like money. I'm just like, how is this
Yep.
a budget? How much fucking money you think Americans make on
Yo.
that?
Uh, I think about like how there's just so much money floating around the world all the time. I'm like, there's
Yeah.
just so much of it. That's so
Oh yeah.
crazy.
So do you think if we can get that money, you know what I mean? Like allocate some of that money. How can we get
Mm,
that money? Because it's just like they make it look like everyone has that money, but no one really has that money. Let's just be honest. Everyone's just gonna
yeah.
watch that episode and just be like, "Oh, that's dope. I wish I can do that." That's what will be the
Hmm.
mindset. I wish I can do that.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, I don't even know. I lost my train of thought where I was going with this.
I feel like I got you like around like there's so much money around the world, and I think like, yeah, like some we see and we're like, oh yeah, I wish I could be in this thing. I think about when it comes to money, I think a lot about like what it really means for like equity. I'm like, and like what it really looks like for people to have access to the same thing. Because
Hmm.
I'm also like, when I think about being wealthy, like that comes with a, oh, there's little tree branches hitting the car channel. Um, like when I think about like being wealthy and like it comes with a hierarchy of having
Hmm.
access to something that other people don't. So
Right.
I think I've tried to practice like pushing away from being like, oh, I want to like be rich. Like I know I
Hmm.
want to be able to like have access to things that other folks should have access to, and like
Hmm.
you know, because I think especially as like black and brown folks, like we have no choice but like to be um like really creative with what it is that we have around us when we're surrounded by scarcity. And like I'm like the things that we create out of that, like imagine when we have access to the things that we need and we
Right.
have access to doing the things that we want to do and don't feel like we have to do. Like that shit would be amazing. So like I'm like I don't think I want to be rich. Like
Hmm.
even like the ideas about fame, like that has changed for me. I'm like I don't think I'm seeking to like, I don't mess with him at all. But to be clear, but like, I don't want to be at the level of like social consumption of like a Justin Bieber. Like, no,
Hmm.
I want to create relationships where like people listen and respect and like consume my art because like they want to, and like also like, yeah, like I just feel like I just feel like it gets like I'm shifting my thoughts around like money and like what it means to make it, and like in a way that like I feel aligns with my morals and means that like
Right.
what I'm searching for, like I want other people to have too, and like I'm okay with like not being where I think I need to be,
Hmm.
because then that means that like I'm doing the work that I that is more important than like
That
searching
is
for like a
actually
number one.
so brave. That's actually so brave. Let me tell you that. So brave. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just
No,
like,
that was
damn,
it. I'm gonna drive while we talk,
so
so
brave.
you're gonna see my steering wheel.
Oh, that's fine. Like the reason why I say it's so brave because not many people in America's we're not bred to think that way. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And this is my issue, and here it is. And I hope no one
Hmm.
gets saying about it. This is my issue with black capitalism.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because black capitalism will still give a type of platform towards that exploitation instead of that liberation. And
Yeah.
that's why I totally agree with you on that. Because if you keep a mindset like that and also be mindful of the wealth that you have to a point where you want to make sure that you are sustainable not only for your family but your community and not trying to exploit, that's the big deal. Exploitation. Like
Yep.
we don't want those type of practices because that's just built-in whiteness to just
Yeah.
continue. And I say built-in whiteness in a way not to say all white people think this way, but built-in whiteness as this is what the elite, the 1% wants,
Oh,
basically.
absolutely.
This is their practice, you know. This isn't like this is a practice that they have control for, and you don't want to be a part of that, you know. And we see all these extravagant reality shows and stuff, and they try to make it seem like this is what we all want, and no, it's not
Right.
what we all want at all. I totally
That's a
agree with
that's a
everything
good
you just
point.
said.
And yeah, my bad if I cut you off.
Oh no, you're good.
It's fine. It's all good. My and what I think a lot about that too is right. Like I think about systems. Like you brought that up. Like
Hmm.
in systems, like we want like things are gonna perpetuate themselves if nothing else exists to replace it.
Right.
So like especially with black capitalism and capitalism, just black capitalism, like yeah, it makes sense that like thinking about survival tactics as black folks like trying to make it and have access to something, like it's gonna like regurgitate the same systems that they are oppressed underneath,
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
like that is the only thing currently that is functioning, that exists. And so like I think like it's been really cool like watching, I think collectively and socially, like the collective social like learning around like abolition and like
Hmm.
like meaning like to formally how I have come to learn about it, right? Like formally removing something, but it also speaks really clearly to about the implementation of creating something.
Hmm.
Um, and so I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, like that is going to function that way because that's the only thing that's there.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see like good examples from people that are like black and Latino and black and brown, what they do. Like for instance, uh, LeBron James, he's filthy rich, but he
Yep.
also has schools. He also has programs. He's also giving a lot more, and I think that's the type of like example of financial growth that we should be teaching, so we can continue to take care of our own instead of
Yep.
having to like fight this government and try to force this government to do something. Like we should be taking care of our own while we're fighting this government, forcing this
Right.
government, um, and not trying to just depend on making this government do the right thing. I mean, it took this long for weed. We didn't even know marijuana was going to be legalized under
Hmm.
Lamont, and now all of a sudden it happened. And it happened not because of Lamont. It happened because of the black and brown people who I'm going to be interviewing soon,
Right.
of that were in those seats cracking and applying pressure. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
that is the
Yeah.
power that you have to have when you become wealthy as well too. Like I think that so
Hmm.
much. What was you
Yeah.
gonna
I'm
say?
like, there's always a both and, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so wild too. Even like, you know, we're I'm happy about like weed being legalized, like finally, Jesus
Mm-hmm.
Christ. And like even when I was reading about it, I'm like, this shit is still low key like, but
Mm-hmm.
small, like I'm gonna quote someone, Maya Shepherd, like she had wrote this, and yeah, she like said like small change still burns, and like that stuck with me when I heard her like talk
Yeah.
about that. So um yeah, I think about that. I'm like, I'm still like side eyeing so much of like the process and implementation, and still like being like,
Mm-hmm.
this is still a good move.
Yeah. 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 Still a good move. It's not
Yeah.
perfect. It could be way better. Like I don't
Yep.
know, exonerating everybody that's been charged and stuff. Can we get everybody free now? But I don't know what's
Yeah.
happening with that. But it could
Exactly.
step forward. This is all we have to deal with as Americans. Step forward 24/7.
Yep.
We hear that. Step forward this, step forward that.
Yep.
I feel like we're gonna just keep saying it's a step forward until we die.
Yeah.
But
I cannot.
so what? So how's it being? How's it being such an amazing artist? I mean, I look at you and Bobby Sanchez as like being like the standard, honestly, in Connecticut, because queer music is just not as represented as it should be, in the states. So I really think that you guys are leading the charge, honestly. You know what I mean? Like, how what is it like? Can you tell us the experience? Like, are you trying to get shows, or what's the hassle? You know what I mean? Like, now that we have this rainbow capitalism happening now with Biden and stuff, or people minds are changing. I mean, as a fellow queer person, I feel like I need to hear your perspective, because I have my perspective, but I want to hear your perspective. Like,
I so appreciate you. That is so sweet, and that is such a big compliment. Like, and shout out to Bobby. Like, they just be killing it, and like
hmm
I'm super super proud of them, and like rooting for them always. But yeah, like with everything, like I always have to be like super clear that like as like a Black Latina, like you know I'm not representative of all like Black experiences, and so like
hmm
there what has like been capable for me, like I think about my team, like who helped me out so much, and like are like have my back through everything, is like Juanita, Josh, my best friend. The people in my community are all other like Black people, and brown people who like just like support and like help me put things together. So like none of this would be possible without like my community of like people that like really be riding and like support me,
Yeah.
and like yeah, I feel like it's interesting because like like I feel and see the support, and then sometimes like I think I get my feelings, and I'm like I still feel that disconnect and all the things, but I've been really sitting in it lately and just like,
Mm-hmm.
letting it soak in. And I'm just really grateful that like people even listen, even if it's like one person like that. That means a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I think especially in Connecticut, I've had like it's been a little hard. It's been a lot hard, but I think the perseverance to keep going is centered in like I would create music and the things that like mean the most to me, even if I wasn't letting people listen.
Right.
And so I feel like I do my best to be as honest as I can. That feels good. Um, and like hopefully it resonates with people. And like so far it's been pretty good and it's growing.
It's
Um,
awesome.
and yeah, I think like yeah, I'm trying to push myself to like my full limits, and then even go beyond that. So like that's what I'm trying to do with this wave of music, especially for my album. Like with the visuals that like I'm planning for it, with like all the aspects. Like I'm really trying to push
Mm-hmm.
um my creativity and like try not so hard to be hard on myself and box myself in. So like I'm
Mm-hmm.
just this time around, I feel like I'm trying to be as unapologetic as I can, you know, at this
Yes.
time. And that's been one of the most exciting parts is like just kind of being able to just do the thing and be like, you know, it's okay that you don't have these other things that people have, because like what I have is like what I need. Like I have everything
Mm-hmm.
that I need.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about how you tap into it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm really excited. I've been making music with like just one of my closest friends. His name's Houston Clark. He's producing music for my album. So like we're working on a song right now that is like brain melting and
Mm.
so like that I literally cannot wait for y'all to hear. And like
I can't wait to hear it.
uh, he's another like black Latino who like is also just like, if y'all haven't heard, like listen to his music, Houston Clark, like please do. We've
Mm-hmm.
been creating together. I write everything that I touch. So like it all has like my stories, and like it's just been a really joyful experience, and that has been new. So I feel like whatever comes next, you know, watch out.
Yeah, that's freaking dope. You're so passionate. I love how you articulate yourself with it's just so simple, and I wish I could talk like you because you make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You make a lot of sense, and I'm just sitting here just hearing this, like it is just showing just how like this is what it's like being 10 toes down, you know what I mean? Like you are definitely like 10 toes down and you're getting it done, and your music is showing a lot. um and I think that Connecticut needs to get artists like you out because this is crazy. Like this is a drought. Somebody got to put Connecticut on the map. Like come on now. Like
For real.
they they keep going to fucking New York. I mean, like I love what people like Lil Nas X has done. Just freaked out the whole
Mhm.
entire community. So I'm just like, wait
Yeah.
until you hear these Connecticut artists. Like, wait till you hear from the queer Connecticut artists, like, and the trans Connecticut artists. Like, let's come on, give us a chance.
I'm excited for that. I think that is like, if I ever had to like be like, what is it that I'm actually like trying to do? I'm like, I actually just like I want y'all to know how gay and queer and trans this shit about to be.
Right, right. And the fact
when
that you're
I
thinking
get
about
through those
community
doors.
too. Yeah. Oh, yes, yes, exactly. And the fact that you're thinking about community as well too. Like there's no coincidence that majority of the activists I meet and organizers I meet are queer or trans. Like there's no coincidence.
Yeah.
It literally is embedded in us to care about our community. And okay, we have some bad apples like the 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 Milo Yapigapius of the world or whatever his fucking name is, that asshole. Yeah, we have some of those people, but they don't reflect our community. They don't reflect our struggle. They don't reflect our changes that we have to go through in order to live in this world. And the, and once they honestly see this and this whole gay agenda bullshit, whatever the fuck they want to call it, and when they actually see like how strong the trans and queer community, uh, the LGBTQ community is, like, come on now, like Martin Luther King. left hand man was a gay man. Like
Yep.
we have always been in this struggle, and we have always fought for it, our
Hmm.
lives and our identities.
Yep.
And like I think that's happening right now, honestly, slowly, but it's showing, it's breaking. They have no choice but to
Yep.
finally acknowledge. And this has always been a problem between the within the POC communities, just
Hmm.
because of colonialism. Honestly, that's my opinion. But it's like now it's the point. Is like y'all got no choice but to acknowledge this, and
Yep.
y'all need to put Erica out there in the BT Awards, and y'all need to put Bobby Sanchez. Honestly, they need to make a whole freaking like they need to bring the Latin Grammys and make indigenous Grammys. Like we need bad fucking Grammys, black Grammys, fuck the Grammys. Like we need
Listen,
branches of Grammys.
I'm like, honestly, when I think about like we know what's recreated, it's all of these things are not like disconnected from one another. Like the Grammys, or this, the that. Like it always boils down to money, to exploitation, to
Hmm.
lack of representation and access. Like those are the core things that never leave any of these things. And I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you that like, let's say one day I get nominated for a Grammy, like I won't lose my shit because like
Oh,
that's what exists. And so like we understand like what that can mean in terms of
hmm
like how people view you and like solidify your work or whatever. And I'm also like, I feel like the journey that I'm on, that is like, not just a singular one, but like the individual stuff and the collective stuff that like I'm in commitment to doing all the time is like, I feel like I'm going, like my journey's going and building slow because like the person that I'm trying to build into and like embody the things that I actually say I believe in,
hmm
excuse me, is like when I get there that I'm hopefully not so fixated, on the cloud nine of like white pedestals. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
I don't need to like have a bunch of like white people trying to pat my back and be like, oh look, you're the one that did it. And
hmm
like I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm okay with not having any of that shit. Like I'm good because like, everything that I make is like everything that I make stems from my experiences, from the shit that I've seen, some shit that I experienced. And like essentially like everything that I want to do in this life in my art is like just create like those worlds and spaces that like we get to step into and be our full selves. Like that's what I'm excited about this album. I feel like I'm stepping into my full self with like
Word.
living my full pop star fantasy. And like
Word.
that for me, I was like, I can't do that. Like, I can't do this. Like, I don't look like this or I don't sound like this or like this isn't this way. But I'm like, nah, like I want to do this
Do it.
because I can. And like
You
this
damn
act is
right.
revolutionary. And like there are so many other like trans, black, um, woman and queer non-binary folks and Latinx, Latine, Latino, like queer, trans, and non-binary folks that like put so much work in and are still that like I and we are standing on the backs of to like be able to do the things that we want to do. And like that I don't take lightly or for granted. And so I'm like, I really care about like whatever access to power and privilege that I have within like my identities to like do what I gotta do. So what you see is representative of like what I see and what I
Hmm
want to see. And what needs to be seen. You know what I'm saying? Which is like there are so many trans artists that like just do so much for music and like there's so many women that are creating and like are never in the rooms. And I'm just tired of that. I'm like,
hmm
fuck all this shit.
hmm
So,
hmm
my long spiel is just like, I'm cool with my journey being what it is because like I'm not trying to stand into like white environments seeking white validation.
Yep.
That is not what my art is for. My art is for all the black and brown and trans and queer non-binary folks, black people, brown people in general to like feel free and excited in. And
Yes.
so I'm
Oh
like,
hell yeah.
I want to feel free in my music and like and that inherently is for my people.
You know who's a big example of that? Big Frida. Fucking love Big Frida.
Yeah, Big Frida, dog. Shout out to
Like
Big Frida.
that's how you do it. Like that's the blueprint right there. And then
Mm-hmm.
whatever you do is just going to make it so much better. You know what I mean?
Yo,
Like
thanks.
that's how you stay. That's how you
Yes.
say. And
Yes.
they will sample Big Frida's music, would never actually show Big Frida in the video. Drake sampled it, Beyonce
Yo,
sampled it.
I
Like,
just
you notice that? Like,
and there was also something recently where I can't remember the song because I just didn't listen to it, but like, you know, and I say it with like a heavy heart and a heart that like it's so frustrating sometimes because I understand why sometimes like us as black and brown people show up in the ways that we do, not to take away the harm that they cause. And I'm like, yo, like I know why you move this way, and I
hmm
can't wait for the day that you consent to change so you can realize that like this way of being and acting with each other actually isn't how we win.
right.
And like it was a gay black man, I believe so I'm just use they them pronouns for now, but like
hmm
they were single-handedly responsible for the song going viral because of the dance that they created on TikTok, and
Wow.
like they weren't at all credited and or put in the video. And I'm just like,
Oh my
when we're
God.
naming like clearly like black creatives especially on TikTok are not being respected or shown, like,
Yep.
but like that sentiment and that argument and that anger that we all collectively feel all of a sudden shifts because like they're now queer. And I'm
hmm
just like, when I think about hip-hop culture, like hip-hop culture is so heavily and just like a lot of mainstream music is so heavily influenced by ballroom and queer artists and queer
It
culture.
is. It
From the
is.
fashion to this to that, I'm like,
Yes.
house EDM, we already know who made that, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just like,
hmm
it is so heavily influenced by our people and like the experiences coming from our people. um and like that isn't respected or represented. So like when we lost Sophie,
Yeah.
shout out to Sophie, like rest in peace, rest in power. They were a white trans artist that was like really responsible for a lot of like, I think like a lot of music. I can think of Charlie XCX and a couple other folks, and I also think about like on the backs of that, like that also come, not to take away from the creativity, but naming that and like the genre they were specifically in, like it was super electronic and like experimental, also stems from a lot of those house and music influences that come from black queer artists.
Mm, mm.
So
That.
I'm like, you know we are gonna honor, mourn, and like celebrate, and we got to do the same thing for the people, for like our people out here that are like creating it.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I love this conversation. We could go
Yeah.
and on, but you gotta go. You gotta go to
I do.
work.
I'm in front of my office like la 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 la.
Well, we you definitely gotta get you back on here again. I
Yeah.
know. I said about like 30 minutes. So I'm gonna keep to that right there. It's only
Yeah.
32. Only 32.
You
So
did great.
check
You
out.
did great.
Oh yes, and check out Erycka's music. It is in the description. Everybody in the YouTube or Twitter, Facebook, be safe and stuff like that. Erycka, last question. Last question before you go. Um, oh my god,
Take your
I
time.
think I'm coming down with something. But anyway, um, do you think do you see yourself in the future collabing with my band?
With your band?
Yes,
Oh my god,
I'm.
of course I do.
Let's do it. This was
Of
literally a
course I
selfish.
do.
This was a selfish question. So I'm just gonna.
Please be more selfish. Like I love working with other people. Like let's do it.
Oh, word, yeah, yeah. Because I want to talk to Eric about that because that would be so dope. We get you on the record or something like that.
Yes.
Um, thank you so much for coming out, man. Like this is the freaking dope. Erica, you're the shit. Like so, check her out on Spotify and check her out on. You only gave me the Spotify link, right? And then the Instagram link is also well too.
Yeah.
Actually, I put the link R. So there's a lot of stuff you can get. She has a lot of great music. And everybody have a good day. Have a good day, Erica.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye. And lastly, reason why I didn't put the theme song on yet. Um, real quick, I just wanted to say that I think it's very, 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 very important, and I want to touch on the fact that what happened in Haiti is a reflection of what's going on around the world with Sudan, um, with shit, even with Libya in the past, and Libya now. Um, I brought that analyst on so we can talk literally about what happened on the ground. I've seen on social media, especially in American influence, um, there was just a lot of solidarity for this president, but there was no solidarity mentioned for the protesters and for the journalists. The activists that have been on the ground for 2 years because of this president taking power that's being backed by the US. The US has already had hands in Haiti. And everyone that knows the history of everything that Haiti goes through, you saw the Democrats themselves. Also, Hillary Clinton, that was a big deal. She stole millions from Haiti. And no matter what, the Haitian people will always persevere. Always. It's embedded within Haiti's DNA. Haiti is the golden star of black resistance. That's why I will always defend Haiti 24/7. I don't need to be Haitian to defend Haiti. I'm a black man. I'm a cis black man. So I just wanted to say that because I was given flack because I was defending Haiti, and people are like, "Oh, poverty." Let's talk about poverty real quick. I grew up in Bridgeport on the east side with roaches and all that shit. Government cheese, all that shit. I know damn well what poverty is. So it's kind of offensive to me. I don't even want to entertain it when people want to DM me and try to educate me on what poverty is. Do not educate me on what poverty is. Educate yourself and keep it to your fucking self. Honestly. But nobody wants to hear that. Sorry. Who wants to hear that? You want to say that everything that, first of all, get your own fucking podcast, get your own fucking show. You want to say that everybody doesn't know what poverty is because you read something and your ass is living up in the fucking suburbs, but you want to tell me what the fuck poverty is? I lost friends. I lost friends to gun violence. So you want to tell me what the fuck poverty is? Makes no damn sense to me. But it's all right. It's all right. Rant over.
Collectively transforming community, peace in our human family, volume of unity, divine light shining individually, collectively transforming community, peace in our human family.
Growth as above, so below. Feel the pain in my soul, the red pill dissolved. Organized, no matter the cost. Politicians start wars, they don't fight, they sit in the poor. And nothing lasts forever as long as we stay together. Give hell to the masses, watch the unity rapture. This is for the kids and the culture. It's one love, one growth, one light.